Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today is Monday, which means it's time for an episode of Loadout, the series where you guys, the viewers, get to pick a gun and customization for me to use. The way you do this is you leave a comment down below letting me know what kind of weapon and accessories you'd like me to run with, and I will pick one of the top rated comments for the next episode. Now today's top comment, I will admit I was a little bit hesitant towards picking just because it's based off of a true story. It's based off of an actual person in a real mission. Marcus Luttrell, they're making a movie on him right now called Lone Survivor, and I just wanted to clarify with you guys that, I mean, no disrespect towards any of the people that were involved in this mission, and I have nothing but the highest respect for them. So the actual loadout itself, whether or not I like it, does not reflect whether or not I like the people in the mission or their choice of weaponry or anything like that. So today's top comment comes from One Man Wolfpack 97. He says, Marcus Luttrell, Lone Survivor, Mark 11 Mod 0 with suppressor, 8x scope and bipod, M9 suppressed, use the tugs to see people coming up on your position, run with squad ammo so you and your sniper team have enough bullets to take out the enemy, play on a map with well-wooded areas and create your sniper hide. If your position is compromised, try your best to survive like Marcus. Good luck, and the only easy day was yesterday. Now, if you're not familiar with Operation Red Wings, which is the mission that Lone Survivor, the movie, is based on, I recommend looking it up. It's an intense story. It's actually really hard to read about at times, and then watching the trailer. I'll admit I even got a little misty-eyed watching the trailer. Probably had a little bit something to do also with the fact that there's this awesome David Bowie song for the trailer being covered by Peter Gabriel, but that's a whole other thing there. I highly recommend just watching the trailer if you want to know more about it. It'll sort of give you the brief on the whole situation. And one small clarification to this actual loadout, I believe Marcus Luttrell was actually using a Mark 12 in the movie, or in the story rather, in the actual mission. Obviously we don't have a Mark 12 in Battlefield 3, so Mark 11 is the next best thing. Now this semi-automatic sniper rifle can carry 10 rounds in the magazine and extra one in the chamber, so if you do a reload with one in the chamber you got 11 shots to take down your enemies, and it does a maximum of 50 damage, which means in close quarters one shot to the head will definitely kill your opponent. Now normally the Mark 11 shoots at 550 meters per second, and this is a pretty good rate of bullet velocity. It allows you to down your targets at long range fairly easily. But once you put that suppressor on here, it downs that bullet velocity to 310 meters per second, which is just abysmally slow. It's PDW slow. It's slower than most pistols. It's really slow. It's going to make it very hard for you to hit moving targets at range, or targets at range in general. You have to get used to how high you have to actually aim this weapon. Now the 8x sight takes a little while getting used to, just because you aim for the head directly and the bullets land at their feet at longer ranges. So you really have to get used to how far you have to aim above their head to get those headshots. Something that I'm really interested to see how it works out in Battlefield 4 is the zeroing feature on sniper rifles. There's going to be a button, which obviously simplifies the real mechanic, but one button in Battlefield 4, basically wherever you're sighted in on, when you hit that, it should zero your sights for that distance. So if you see a guy at long range, you hit the button to zero for his distance, and you aim at his head, the bullet trajectory should hit him in the head. It's a very interesting mechanic. We'll see how it works out in Battlefield, just because it's a more realistic sniping mechanic. And Battlefield, for better or worse, is a little bit more arcadey when it comes to the actual combat. So we'll have to see how the whole zeroing function works. But I gotta say, I was feeling like I could have used it here, because I was just missing so many headshots that were turning into body shots that were doing very little damage. Because the drop off on the Mark 11, although it starts at 50, goes all the way down to 37.5, which normally ends at around 75 meters, which is pretty darn far away by the time it gets down to 37.5 damage. But once you put the suppressor on here, that drop off ends at 35 meters. So that means any long range targets are going to be a 3-shot kill to the body, which is going to make it much harder for you to down your targets, especially if you're not hitting those headshots. Now the 8x sight is overkill for this weapon. I don't really care which way you look at it. This gun doesn't really have the accuracy to take advantage of an 8x sight. I would be much more comfortable with a hollow sight, maybe a 3.4x sight, It's not that I can't work with it, it's just overkill, and the fact that anything over a 4x sight gives you scope glint in Battlefield just drives me crazy. I hate scope glint. I hate the idea that people can like see me sticking out of a bush just because my scope is shining. You know, that drives me crazy, and it kind of defeats the purpose of the whole suppressor and running around as a suppressed class in this game, because you know, it makes cover, visual cover, really valuable when you don't show up on the minimap. But when that scope glint is just peeking you out, like that guy right there that I just wasted, it just completely ruins any element of surprise or being able to hide or use the art of disguise, the environment around you to conceal yourself. Any of that stuff just goes right out the window, and I hate it because it's so key to the whole concept of sniper gameplay. You know, snipers want to hide themselves, conceal themselves, find little good camping spots, and when the scope just peeks them right out, or puts them right out of the environment there, makes them easy targets to see, then it just kills that whole mentality. Now, the suppressed M9 is a perfectly adequate sidearm for medium to close range as long as you're staying off the minimap. That's the important part. It's what makes the suppressor worthwhile on that pistol, just because the M9, you know, does 25 damage maximum. You gotta shoot a guy 4 times unless you're aiming for the head, so you want to make sure, one, he doesn't notice where you are immediately, and two, his teammates don't notice where you are immediately, because if he's got backup on the way, then your M9 is not going to hold up for a very long time in this game. And you'll notice even at these ranges, I tend to aim a tiny bit high sometimes on these guys, because the bullet drop is just so intense that aiming right at the top of their head, even at medium range, is where you want to be aiming. And that 8x sight right there is really hard to track moving targets in medium range. That's one of the reasons why I don't like those 8x sights for semi-automatic sniper rifles. They're fine for bolt action because you don't have to track your target as much. You take the shot, you reload the round, you can even zoom out of your optics and then zoom back in. But 8x sight with a semi-auto, where you have to track a guy moving perpendicular to you, becomes very difficult, and you have to get very used to this different mouse sensitivity that you otherwise just would not be used to. Now, I know I'm not playing on wooded environments, kind of like the description said, but you know what, it's really hard to find the right servers to play in, and if I can just get a game with a good balance of players and nobody trolling, that sort of thing, then I gotta take it. Now, the only map that would really fit that description is Caspian Border. Here's a fallen palm tree. I don't know if that counts. But, you know, I tried to play the class the way it was meant to, putting down my tugs, using it to try and figure out where enemies were, holding up in areas, and really trying to survive as best as possible, which I gotta say, using this weapon is not the easiest thing ever. Doesn't have good hipfire because of the suppressor. Its damage is extremely nerfed at range, so you're going to lose most assault rifle firefights at medium range. So you really just absolutely have to have the drop on people and take advantage of that suppressor. If you are not staying off the minimap, then you are not going to get very far with this setup. Overall, I can't say I'm a huge fan of this loadout. I'm sure the weapon in real life performs admirably with a suppressor, but in Battlefield 3, it just kind of gets nerfed, and its whole effectiveness at range really just gets destroyed. Either way, I had a fun time trying it out, and don't forget to leave your comments for next week's episode of Loadout, letting me know what you'd like me to run with. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap, signing off.